Hello again. We're gonna do Never Toku Ramblings for a series I wished I liked a lot more than I actually did. Because there's a lot I respect about Ultraman Ginga. For what it is able to accomplish in a decidedly short amount of time with the little budget they had, that is a very commendable thing at a time where they really didn't have much money, but still wanted to celebrate their company's anniversary with a series. I just kinda wish what we got was a lot less... meh. I don't really... Yeah, let's get into this. So, the story follows Hikaru Raito, who, after 7 years away from his hometown, returns to Furuhoshi Town after receiving some strange visions. He meets up with a bunch of his old friends and learns that his grandfather's shrine had been destroyed by a sudden fire, with the shrine getting moved to a closed school. Because he discovers inside the shrine this weird object in student form about the Spark Dolls by a doll Taro. The Spark Dolls are these little figures which, when used in tandem with what he learns is called the Ginga Spark, allows people wielding it to summon or become the figure. Meanwhile, so basically Hikaru and later his friends are tasked with finding all the Spark Dolls around the school and before the villains do. So, this is one of the shorter series I've talked about. It's only 11 episodes. So it more is a mini-series, which I think that's the best way to look at it. It's a mini-series, not a full, 25 or even 62 episode series. And for some reason, they decided to split this into two parts. So, the first half focuses more on just Hikaru and his friends, going around the mountains around the school, trying to find the Spark Dolls and dealing with whatever human gets corrupted by it. And then the second half becomes slightly more serialized with dealing with the big bad. And I really don't like the beat down on this because I know I'm harping on this a lot, but more or less, again, there's a lot I respect about this season. But it's not particularly good because I feel like your enjoyment of the series is going to come down to how much you enjoy anime BS. Because this is a series that is filled with a lot of that. So Hikaru is very much just cut from the same cloth as a lot of other Ultra protagonists. A kind, optimistic, positive young man who wants to help his friends and do the right thing. And nothing really changes about him. He's just helping the people around him grow and hold on to their dreams. It works in this idea of the show being shorter and that he's already fully developed as being this worldly traveler. We're coming back. And, with a smaller cast size, that does give focus to each of the characters, and, okay, let's get into this. Because, how I said earlier, well, just a few seconds ago, more or less, your enjoyment might come down to how much you enjoy anime BS. So, Misuzu's introduction just feels like it comes out of a comedy anime. She's in an out-of-control basket just rushing down, and Hikaru has to capture her. And it just has all of that energy and timing of one of those anime. And if you're not fond of that, then this is not going to be the series for you. But I thought of her friend, she was fine. She acts as a confidant and kind of like the sane man to more or less everything else that is going on here. She is fine, but the show kind of more or less did not have enough time to develop her arc. Because, in the latter half, when she's taken over by Dark Lugia, we learned that she was apparently envious of Hikaru's ability to go out and see the world. which is something the show never really hints at or foreshadows in any way. It just kind of comes out of nowhere and just feels unearned, not gained properly. Like, it just happens. Like, she's not bad. And the other two, because like the other two friends, I don't really think much. I barely remember Kenta. His big thing is he takes photographs, and that is kind of it. If the fact that more or less of his friends in Ginga S who get like returning episodes, he's the only one who does not get an episode to my memory. And Chigusa would have been fine, but it's an issue of the voice. The director or showrunner or whoever was doing like direction for episodes had her do this cutesy higher pitched voice, so like, oh, this is the cute one of the group, she's also wanting to become an idol and that's her dream, and more or less it just becomes grating quickly. And it's very aggravating to a point. I thought her episode was fine. I thought that was okay, but most of the time, I'm just annoyed with her voice. Like I said, and if we're kind of wanting to do this generic or mid-2000s anime kind of thing, we get the anime rich kid rival in Tomoya, who is, emotionless and not understanding friendship. Yep, and more or less Hikaru more or less beats into him more or less why friendship is important. But it then just sort of becomes the smart guy of the group. That's sort of the issue with this series. It's nice to be short, but we really don't get enough development for the entire group that I think is meaningful. Everyone here gets like one episode, or in the case of Tomoya, arc so he becomes their friend. But that's kind of just the issue. The characters are mostly just their no personalities and whatever their dream is. Well, I guess there is technically, one more thing to talk about. The choice of location. So, to save budget, the entirety of the show just, takes place in this abandoned school. Like, Hikaru lives there, they'll sometimes go into the city nearby, but mainly this show takes place in this abandoned school, which, going back to Tomoya, why would he even be at the school? I mean, obviously, yes, for the Spark Dolls, but there's no explanation or build-up for him showing up, and it just feels weird. Which is just another issue of just, this show's pacing is all over the place. It's sometimes it's very fast with some stuff, and then other times it takes its sweet time explaining stuff. It's not the worst pacing, but you feel like sometimes, wait, what? It's over already? Oh, why is it taking so long? It's just, meh. But I'll give credit to this. This show knows how to build an atmosphere, to say the least. At least, the abandoned school just has its own unique flavor to it that I don't think any other show has going for it. That feeling of being in a school, after the day's over and everyone's gone home and the halls are just empty, no noise whatsoever. It feels like that. It's a sort of weird post-apocalyptic or after the end of everything thing that helps to give this show its own kind of identity, which if you kind of were more annoyed with how Post-Reba kind of just never really felt like it had its own identity beyond just doing the usual stuff, might be interesting. But it's sort of weird to have Kenta, Tomoya, and Chigusa let's have little spaces set up here in this school. Obviously they're using it as a shrine, a replacement shrine I mean, but isn't the school like getting teared down at some point? Don't you think they'd have people around to make sure they're not leaving stuff around that might not be good for when the place gets torn down? Now, it makes sense from a budgetary place because this place was likely very cheap to film with the already small cast. But from a story perspective, it's just wonky about this abandoned school just being the local hangout for everyone. I do like that they choose to have Taro as the mentor. Like, obviously, he was one of the most popular Showa. Ultra, as you know, the old generation coming in to be the mentors for the new generation, I think works really well. He spends most of the time kind of being kidnapped, and him being a doll that just talks is something he really can't do much in. But just kind of like this fun, goofy norm that Toku is generally known for. The villains' biggest issue is, for the most of the series, it's comic relief. So, there's Valky, Icarus, and then Gray. Yes, for some reason, now I should note that more or less the Valky and Icarus are the names of the alien races that they are associated with. They, do not get names for some reason. I really wouldn't call Icarus a main villain because he's only around for the movie special they did for Ginga in between the first and second arcs, which they're just kind of episodes for the TV shows, both movies. The second one's more just, hey, let's have all these interesting combos and fights always after the show is over. Like, we see that they are actually really capable threats when they're on the field and can do damage to the heroes. Valky does a really good job on that when he nearly eats that man. Gray does sort of more or less come off as an actually legitimate threat. But it's an issue again of just like the short length and what they were wanting to do with that. And Dark Lugiel is barely a character. He spends most of the series possessing a side character, which is neat, and the relationship of what he is to Ginga is nice, but he's a no-show for most of the show, which is never a good sign for your final villain if you're going for this more serialized and very clearly having an idea of what you want to do, like with Ginga. I feel like the designs are decent. I like Ginga's design. You know, it's a fairly standard red and silver with the bright glowing crystals that change color depending on what he is doing. It's a neat touch, especially since it was one of the very few new things this series had, and yeah, you can sort of tell that they were very conscious of the budget when they were doing, fight scenes, because a lot of early episodes are just, them throwing energy blast towards each other for most of the fights. You can tell that they were very scared about hurting these costumes, because they likely did not have the budget to fix them. They get a little more confident around the second half, which you can tell because they do a big fight in the boxing ring with them. This is more just a technical side of things, but there are definitely some size inconsistencies, and the fact that most of the fights just take place in this foresty area kind of makes the fights feel less special to a point. When everything is just a foresty area. I don't mind the Ginga Spark, but my biggest issue is just how they activate the transformations and or do something, because it's a very small tip with the legs, so it's just it just feels wonky, and I don't like how it feels like he could miss and more or less not get it specifically. At least with X, it's more of a flat surface, so more or less he doesn't have to worry about screwing up. It feels like more or less it should take multiple times for him to put it on. So the music, So, ostensibly, more or less, this is also a very thrifty soundtrack. I think, I watched this later, I think more or less they innately had the battle theme as, like, the main theme, and, yeah, that could have gotten annoying. There was an entirely different theme when I was watching it, and I thought it was, like, a fine, like, optimistic song, but, having to hear the same, like, battle song over and over again was not, it got old fast. Like, the song is fine, I just wish there was more variety in the music. Ugh. Like, I respect this show a lot. For everything it is able to do with its ingenuity and thriftiness to get this made, I think is really cool. I just wish this show did not have as much of that anime DNA garbage in it as it does. They either are annoying or barely exist and have development we don't see, and while the overall design and battles get better in the latter half, it still doesn't look the greatest. I mean, it's 11 episodes. You can watch this in a whole day or afternoon if you really want to and don't have anything else to do. But I can't really say this isn't a good start to, like, the new generation. It really needed more than just 11 episodes to do all of this. And we will talk about Ginga S and its respective movie after a while, but that's gonna be a bit. So, just do the usual thing, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you around.